I guess you have everything now, don't you? That was me. Screaming. Shaking. My heart pounding so hard, I could barely hear myself over the blood rushing in my ears. I had just walked into my own home to find her, sitting on my couch, in my robe, sipping wine out of the glass that he gave me on our anniversary. And on her finger? My wedding ring. The one he said he lost. The one he said he would replace when we were back on our feet. She looked up with that smug little smirk. The kind you see on women who think they've won. She tilted her head and said, "Oh, you're home early. Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button, so you never miss a story like this, and also comments where you are watching from. Thanks." She looked up with that smug little smirk. The kind you see on women who think they've won. She tilted her head and said, "Oh, you're home early." "I live here," I hissed, my fists clenching. "You don't." He walked in behind me, of course, all fake surprise and guilt. "Babe, wait. Don't call me that." I spun around so fast he actually flinched. "You gave her my ring, Nathan? The one you begged me to forgive you for losing?" "I didn't think you'd find out like this," he started. "Oh, you didn't think? That's new." I barked, laughing bitterly, then turned to her. "So how does it feel? Wearing something that meant nothing to you but everything to me? Huh? Is it heavy on your little cheatin' fingers?" She stood up slowly, that smirk never leaving her lips. "It's just a ring, sweetheart." "No. It was my vows. It was my future." My voice cracked, but I didn't let it break. "You think it's just a ring? You know what it meant to me? When he slipped that on my finger, I thought I was safe. I thought I'd found the one man who wouldn't break me." Nathan stepped forward like he was going to put his hands on me. I backed away. "Don't. You touch me and I'll make you regret it." "Stop being dramatic," he started. "Oh, dramatic?" I shouted. "You want drama? How about finding out your husband's been sleeping with someone behind your back for a year? Or better yet, that the promotion he celebrated last month? She helped him get it. Using my ring, my trust, my name." He looked away. She looked proud. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the burn in my throat. "You begged me not to tell anyone about what happened when you were 17. Remember that night, Nathan? The one you cried over? Said you'd die if it ever came out?" His eyes snapped back to mine, real fear in them now. "Finally." "Don't," he whispered. "Don't what?" I mocked. "Don't do to you what you did to me?" The room went still. She shifted uncomfortably. "You told her?" she asked. He didn't answer. And that silence, oh, that silence was everything I needed. "I think it's time you both understood who you're messing with," I said quietly. My hands were still trembling, but my voice? Calm. Focused. Dangerous. I reached into my purse and took out a small black velvet box. "What's that?" she asked. "Not your concern," I said, then looked at her hand again. "But while you're parading around with something that never belonged to you, I thought it was only fair to return the favor." I set the box on the table. He lunged for it. "Don't open that," he shouted, suddenly frantic. "Please, don't." She stepped forward, curious. "What is it, Nathan?" He looked like he was about to be sick. "She wouldn't." "Oh, but I would." I smiled now. "You gave her my ring. So I gave her your secret." He looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was, finally. "You think betrayal is one-sided?" I asked. "You think you break someone, and they just sit there quietly and take it?" She reached for the box. He grabbed her wrist. "Don't," he said again, sweat beading at his temple. "I'm begging you." "Oh," I said sweetly. "Now you beg." She snatched her arm away. You've been lying to me? He didn't answer. I didn't have to say another word. The power shifted. Finally. And for once, I let the silence sting him. You know, when someone rips your heart out, there's a moment. A split second where your brain still tries to protect you, tells you maybe it's not what it looks like. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe he wouldn't really do that. But once the truth sets in, that hope dies. And something else is born in its place. I think they call it clarity. I walked out of that house, my house, and didn't look back, because that box on the table? It held everything he begged me to bury. And I mailed a copy of it the next morning, right to her office. Because if he was going to burn my vows, I was going to bury his reputation. And this? This was just the beginning. When I walked out that door, the wind hit my face like a slap, sharp, cold, and cleansing. I stood there on the porch for a minute, letting it sting me. Letting it remind me that I was still alive. Still standing. That after everything Nathan did, the lies, the cheating, the betrayal, I still had one thing he could never take from me. Control. I drove straight to the post office. No music. No tears. Just silence and the sound of my fingers tightening around the steering wheel. In my bag sat the second box, a copy of what I'd left on the coffee table. Only this one had a note. Since you love wearing things that don't belong to you. Here's something else Nathan swore no one would ever see. His real wife. I signed it with a kiss. Red lipstick. The one he used to say made me look unapologetic. It was poetic, really. But before I tell you what was inside, you need to understand what Nathan begged me to protect. It happened the year before we met. He'd just turned 17, living with his aunt after his mom threw him out. He was always chasing approval, always needing to be the good guy, even when he wasn't. One night, his friends dared him to break into an abandoned home. Just a dumb teenage stunt. Except, the place wasn't empty. He never told me the full story, just fragments, whispered through panic attacks when he couldn't sleep. Someone got hurt. Someone older. Someone who had something on Nathan. And whatever happened that night, it was enough to get him locked up, or worse. He begged me not to dig. Not to ask questions. Just to help him bury it. And I did. Because back then, I believed loving someone meant protecting their past, even when it scared you. Even when it didn't make sense. I paid for silence. I lied for him. I gave him my loyalty, even when I had nothing left. So imagine my face when I saw that loyalty turned into a glittering diamond on her hand. It made me sick. And it made me dangerous. The box I mailed? It didn't just have a letter. It had everything he tried to destroy. The police report. The sealed court document he begged me to shred. The grainy black and white photo from the surveillance camera, the one he thought I burned. And the part that would break him completely? The audio recording. His voice. Drunk. Confessing it all to a stranger at a bachelor party 3 years ago. I kept it. I kept everything. Because sometimes, love isn't blind. It's just quiet. And I'd been quiet long enough. 3 days later, I got a call. Blocked number. I picked up anyway. You really did it, came her voice, trembling. You sent it to my job. No, I said calmly. I sent it to the woman who stole my name, my home, and my ring. I figured she should know exactly who she's sharing a bed with. He's ruined, she whispered. He ruined me first. Silence. Then, you knew he was broken. Yeah, I replied. But I didn't know he liked it that way. She hung up. And I sat there, phone in hand, watching my reflection in the dark window. For the first time in years, I saw her again. The woman I used to be, before compromise turned me quiet. Before love became obligation. Before marriage felt like shackles dressed up in white lace. Nathan tried calling me after that. Over and over. Left voicemails. Texts. Even showed up at my sister's house with flowers. "You went too far," he said in one message. "You're destroying my life." And you know what? He was right. I was destroying his life. The same way he'd quietly been destroying mine, piece by piece, lie by lie, smile by fake smile. The only difference? I wasn't hiding anymore. Let me be clear, I didn't want revenge for the sake of pain. I wanted truth. I wanted justice. And I wanted him to know what it feels like when the thing you value most is handed to someone who didn't earn it. That box? It wasn't just filled with his secrets. It was packed with my power. The power I'd given up for too long, and was finally taking back. Because when a man hands your wedding ring to another woman, you don't cry. You remind him who he married. And you let them both learn that some women might walk away quietly. But I send mail. And my packages don't just come with bows. They come with consequences. I don't think Nathan expected his life to unravel that quickly. The day after I mailed the box, I woke up to a string of texts from him. Every message more desperate than the last. "Please, just meet me. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I replied, already planning my next move. I wasn't wasting my time meeting him. He didn't deserve my presence in person anymore. Not after everything. But then, the texts started coming from a different direction. His colleagues. His boss. People who had never known the full truth. "You sent that to her work, didn't you?" came the first text from Dave, his closest colleague. "Man, what did you do?" I didn't reply. Then, another, "Nathan's been pulled into a meeting with HR. This isn't going to end well for him." It felt like the world was starting to shift around him, and finally, it was his turn to be the one in the hot seat. For once, I wasn't the one hiding in the shadows, fixing his messes. I wasn't the one swallowing my anger and disappointment just to keep the peace. No, this time, it was his reputation on the line. His entire career was crumbling beneath him, and I had a front row seat. The phone rang again. This time, it wasn't a text. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I needed to. "Is this Mrs. Alexander?" a woman's voice asked. I could tell from her tone that she wasn't calling with good news. "Who's asking?" I responded coldly, already bracing myself. "This is Michelle. I'm with HR at Nathan's company. I'm sorry to inform you that Nathan is currently under investigation for workplace misconduct. We've received some very troubling information. We'd like to discuss this further with you." I leaned back in my chair, absorbing the news. It felt like a strange kind of justice. For years, I had been the one in the dark, trying to hold on to a marriage that was suffocating me. And now, just like that, everything he had worked for, everything he thought he could keep hidden, was being dragged into the light. "Tell me what you need from me," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Well, we would appreciate any information you could provide us. We're looking into some very serious allegations, and it seems your husband has been less than forthcoming about his actions. We understand there's a personal matter involved, so we're respecting your privacy, but your cooperation would be extremely helpful." I paused, letting the weight of her words settle in. "You're looking into his affair, aren't you?" Her silence told me everything. "Tell me everything," I demanded. "The whole truth. Not just the bits Nathan's been feeding you." She didn't respond immediately, but I could hear the rustling of papers on her end. "There are allegations of inappropriate behavior and misuse of company resources," she finally said. And then, the matter of the information he disclosed in his personal life. "We found a pattern of secrecy and misconduct that may go deeper than we thought." Disclosed in his personal life. "We found a pattern of secrecy and misconduct that may go deeper than we thought. It seems this situation with you, with the other woman, is just the tip of the iceberg." I smiled, a bitter satisfaction curling in my chest. Trust me, I said softly. You've only scratched the surface. But you'll get the full picture soon enough. You'll have everything you need. The phone call ended, and I sat there, feeling the weight of what I'd just set in motion. The next morning, I woke up to a news alert. Nathan's company had put out a statement confirming that they were launching a full internal investigation. The article was brief, but the damage was already done. People were talking. The whispers had started. And this wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about everything Nathan had tried to bury under layers of lies. I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of relief. But there was something more. Something heavier. His fall wasn't going to be quick or painless. And as much as I told myself I deserved this, I couldn't help but wonder how much longer I could keep up the facade of strength. I wasn't the only one suffering. Later that evening, my sister called. "Have you seen what's happening?" she asked, breathless. "They're dragging him through the mud online. His co-workers are posting all these memes about him. The whole company's gossiping." I had seen. I'd read the articles. Watched the videos. And it didn't stop at work. News outlets were picking up the story. Social media exploded with hashtag after hashtag. Hashtag Nathan Alexander exposed. Hashtag cheating CEO. Hashtag fake marriage. I watched as Nathan's carefully crafted life began to fall apart, piece by piece. People he'd trusted were turning on him, unfollowing him, unfriending him. And it wasn't just the people who knew about the affair. It was his friends. People who had been at our wedding. Who had called me family. And that's when the realization hit me. This wasn't about punishing Nathan anymore. This wasn't about me getting revenge for the hurt he caused. No, this was about freedom. Because once you start to see the cracks in someone's perfect facade, when you finally realize that they aren't who they say they are, you can't unsee it. And I couldn't unsee the truth. By the time Nathan tried to reach me again, I was done. I didn't care anymore. His apologies meant nothing now. His desperation didn't move me. He had taken my trust, my love, my entire future, and broken it. Left it shattered on the floor for someone else to walk over. But here's the thing about truth, it doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your apologies. It just is. And now, there was no going back. No undoing the damage. The box I sent wasn't just a warning to him. It was a promise to myself, I would never again be anyone's secret. He always said if I ever told anyone, it would ruin everything. That was his line. Over and over. If this gets out, I'm finished. You know that, right? I used to feel like I was holding a live grenade. A truth so volatile, it could detonate and take everything with it, his job, his name, our family, and for a long time, me. But the funny thing about secrets? They grow teeth. They rot in the dark. And when they finally come up for air, they come out ugly. So when I sealed that box, the one I mailed to her, I didn't just send my wedding ring. I didn't just send back the last trace of the life I thought I had. No. I sent something else. I sent the thing he made me swear never to reveal. The thing that haunted me at night, that he begged, cried, threatened me over. The envelope inside the box contained 3 things. A photo, a USB stick, and a notarized document. And if she'd had even half a brain, she would have burned it all. But she opened it. Oh, she opened it. And when she did, her world shattered too. The photo was grainy. Old. It had been taken years before we even got married. But the man in it, drunk, glassy-eyed, caught in the middle of something illegal, was Nathan. Standing next to someone no one at his current company even knew he used to associate with. The USB held a voice recording. One he forgot I had. He was on the phone, laughing, bragging, confessing. You think I really care if it's legal? Please. These people are desperate. You just dangle enough cash, and they'll sign anything. He was talking about a bribe. A business deal that was quietly buried. A deal that nearly cost an entire family their home, a family he swore he saved. I knew about it. I knew the whole story. I was there when the documents were shredded in our garage. I stood in the doorway as he laughed and tossed the evidence into the flames. And finally, the document. The notarized statement. Signed under duress years ago. My name. His. His confession. It was meant to protect him, a twisted insurance policy to keep me quiet, to force me into being complicit. But now, it was doing the opposite. Now, it was the final nail in the coffin. She called me that night. Not to apologize. Not to explain. But to scream. How could you send me that? Do you know what this means? They're going to fire him. He could go to jail. You're just bitter. I let her spiral. I let her scream. Because I had screamed for years, and no one listened. You wanted my life, I finally said. You can have it, all of it. And I hung up. 2 days later, Nathan showed up at my door. Disheveled. Pale. Desperate. Please, he said, barely above a whisper. We need to talk. You don't know what you've done. But I did. I knew exactly what I'd done. I had taken the truth, the one thing he feared more than losing me, and I set it free. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, not letting him pass the threshold. You always told me to. Protect your secrets, I said. To keep your name clean. To carry your shame like it was my job. But now it's yours to carry. He looked broken. His voice cracked. Please. I'll do anything. I'll fix it. Just, don't let this go any further. I tilted my head. But why not? I said. You gave her my ring. You gave her my place in your life. Why shouldn't she get the rest of it, too? His silence said everything. He didn't love her. He didn't even know what love was. He loved control. He loved image. He loved the illusion that no matter what he did, someone would always be there to clean it up. But not anymore. The fallout was swift. The company didn't wait. HR moved fast. Investors pulled out. He was suspended indefinitely pending investigation, and media outlets picked up the story like vultures. People began piecing things together. Old rumors. Past accusations. Whispers that had been ignored or silenced. Now, every buried story had oxygen. And it was burning everything down. As for me? I finally exhaled. I wasn't scared anymore. Because the worst had already happened, and I had survived it. The truth wasn't my prison anymore. It was my freedom. The thing about betrayal is, once it cracks open your world, you can never unsee it. I used to lie awake wondering if I had done enough, loved enough, forgiven enough, been enough. But now? I don't wonder anymore. Because when someone shows you what you mean to them, what they're willing to sacrifice, believe them. Nathan didn't just throw away our marriage. He handed it over like it meant nothing. Gave my wedding ring, my symbol of love and loyalty, to the very woman who mocked me behind my back. And that woman, oh, she thought she won. Until the box arrived. Until the house of cards collapsed. But even as Nathan's life fell apart, and her social pages went dark, and their friends began distancing themselves from the drama, I wasn't satisfied. Not out of revenge. But because something was still missing. Closure. Real, final, undeniable closure. So I made one last move. I booked a reservation at his favorite restaurant, the one we used to go to for anniversaries. I requested a table for 3. And I paid for everything up front. Then I mailed them both an invitation. No threats. No warnings. Just one line. If you want to end this like adults, show up Friday at 8. I didn't know if they'd come. I didn't care. But they did. Of course they did. Nathan walked in first. Alone. Sweating through his collar. No ring on his finger. Just desperation in his eyes. She followed a few minutes later. Hair tied up, no makeup, dressed like she wanted to disappear. They sat across from me like defendants on trial. Why are we here? She asked, arms crossed. Because this is the only apology I'll ever give, I said, and the last word you'll ever get. I reached into my purse and pulled out the deed. The one to our house. The house I paid for. The one in my name. And I slid it across the table. I'm selling it. Not because I need the money. But because I don't want anything left that ties me to this mess. Nathan blinked. You're serious? I'm serious, I said. But there's more. Then came the second envelope. Another document. This one, a signed statement from one of his old clients. A man who'd lost everything because of Nathan's lies. He had reached out to me after the news broke. Said he finally felt safe enough to talk. And he wanted justice. I handed it to Nathan without flinching. You made me carry your guilt for years. Now you get to carry this. She stood up. This is insane. You're trying to destroy him. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I didn't see a threat. I saw a woman who had traded her soul for someone else's husband, and wound up with ashes. You destroyed yourselves, I said. I just stopped cleaning it up. She stormed out. Nathan stayed seated. Quiet. Hollow. Then, finally, he whispered, Do you still love me? I smiled. Not cruelly. Not coldly. Just, done. I loved who I thought you were, I said. But that man died a long time ago. I left him there. At that table. With the check. With the truth. With every broken piece of the life he once used to control mine. And I never looked back. It's been 6 months. I moved cities. Started a new job. Got my own place, small, quiet, mine. Some days are harder than others. Healing doesn't come in straight lines. But I've learned something. When someone tries to bury you in silence, speak louder. When someone gives your wedding ring to another woman, give them the truth they fear most. And when it's finally over, don't waste time trying to fix what never saw your worth. Because the biggest revenge isn't making them suffer. It's watching them live without you.